Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Fincham's Fireside Follow-Alongs, and today we are going to be continuing on with Beyond the Horizon. As always, before we start off our reading, there's two things I like to do. The first is to recap, just kind of what we have read in the previous section, and also to review the questions for this section. And as always, these can be found on the ELA questions and tasks section of your newsletter that was sent out. And so first, let's do a little bit of a recap. So in the story, we have been introduced to a girl named Sarah. I'm going to kind of backtrack through the pages here so we can get a look at her. Here she is. That's Sarah. We know that her father is leaving on a trip to go to India. It is a long trip. He told Sarah, hey, India is no place for a young girl like yourself. You need to stay here. And we can tell by this picture a little bit how she feels about that. She is upset that she is not allowed to go with her father. So what does she do about it? Well, she decides that she's going to sneak out of the house and try to make her way to her father's ship. Well, how does she do that without being noticed? A disguise. As it says here, she starts looking through some of the clothes in her house that she can use to disguise herself, so she won't be caught on the way there. And let's review the questions for today. The first one, the reading-writing task. Why does Sarah keep her head down and not reveal who she is? Show me in the text that leads you to your answer. So, in the pages that we are about to read, in one section, Sarah is going to keep her head down and not reveal who she is. Why does she do that? Provide some text evidence for that one. And the text-to-self connection. Excuse me. Imagine you are going on a ship across the ocean, back when a journey might take over a year. What would your biggest fear be? What would you be most excited about? Now, a lot of us who ever go on boats usually will do it like, in the summertime. Maybe an uncle or somebody has a boat, or maybe your parents do, and you guys might go out on the boat for the day. But imagine getting on a boat and having to remain on it for an entire year. Okay? This is the reality that a lot of people used to face back before airplanes and back before they had ships with engines. All they had were sails or rowing, right? So if you're going across the ocean and the journey might take over a year, what would your biggest fear be about that? And what would you be most excited about? And the third question, the extension. Why do you think the author chose to make Sarah so brave and adventurous instead of sending her safely on board the ship along with her father? So, as you know by now, this story was written by somebody. Somebody wrote this story. The author decided that rather than just putting Sarah on the ship with her father and having them go on the adventure, she has to be brave and adventurous. And so she's going to sneak out. Why do you think the author chose to make her that way? I want to hear your thoughts about this. And without further ado, we're going to start where we left off in Beyond the Horizon. And we're going to start off on page 10 while Sarah was looking for more things to add to her disguise. So we're going to go to page 10. Sarah cut her hair that night by the glow of the kitchen fire, hacking at it with a pair of shears. A part of her ached as she watched her locks drop to the floor, but she knew the golden shackles would hold her back. Lose them, and she was unrecognizable, and that was what she needed to be. Sarah pushed what remained of her hair under Henry's cap, her neck suddenly seeming cold and bare. Henry's tunic smelled of earth and sweat. His breeches were close, and his shoes were damp. Not that any of that mattered. Grabbing her cloth bag, Sarah slipped the latch on the kitchen door and went out, and without a sound, and drifted out into the night. She quickly found the road and set off for the town. A coach to Gravesend would leave at daybreak. Next paragraph. Aunt Mary would figure out where she had gone, but by then it would be too late. Sarah doubted her aunt would shed a single tear. So she's taken it to the extreme. She's not just putting on a disguise. She's making the disguise part of herself. She's cutting off her hair in order to go undetected. This makes sense to me. A lot of you guys in my class, I know, really like your hair, or your hair is like a very big factor about who you are. Imagine wanting something so bad that you chop it off or shave it off, right? So that is telling us how serious she is about this, how badly she wants to go. Now we're going to go to the next page, page 11. This is Sarah now. Notice her hair is short. She is dressed way differently, not in the fancy blue dress that we saw before. And this is her peeking out of the door. So, pretty good disguise. She might be able to pass for a boy. She has a little bag here with, remember, she has a little bit of food in it to try to make it to the ship. And she's being cautious. She does not want to be caught, because if she gets caught, not only can she not go see her father, but then she cut off all of her hair for no reason, right? So there's a lot on the line for this. She doesn't want to go 6, 8, 10, 12 months without seeing her father. So she's going to do whatever it takes to get on board this ship. Now we're going to go to page 12. Here's a picture of the ship. Notice the 3 stars. That means there is a page break. In other words, this is a new scene. It looks like it might be at the dock. Notice the boxes stacked along the dock. It looks like they're getting ready to load the ship. But what do you know of cooking? The cook of the Trades Increased asked, as he eyed the boy the bosun had sent his way. Standing there on the dock, the cook thought that the boy couldn't have been more than 13, and thin as well. So remember, the Trades Increased. That's the name of the ship. I have helped the cook in the kitchen at home. I mean, in my master's kitchen, Sarah corrected herself. Pheasant, pies, roasts, and the like. The cook chuckled. Very grand. I warrant, but there's not much call for that on a voyage across the ocean. I need the work, sir, said Sarah, continuing. I will prove myself, you'll see. The cook shook his head. You may soon wish you weren't on board. Sailing to India is no fairy tale. He paused and thought for a moment. So, what is Sarah trying to do here? She wants to get on the ship, but she doesn't just want to sneak on, right? She wants to get on in a different way. So, she is trying to get a job on the ship as a cook. So she claims, in my master's kitchen, I cooked, pheasant, pies, roast, and the like. And the other cook is like, look, we're going to India. There's not much room for all that stuff here. When you're traveling for this long, it's basically just survival, right? So she's trying to get on the ship under the guise of being a cook. Pretty brave. Now we're going to go to page 13. Here's a picture of her now. A ginger cat swaggered toward Sarah, threw the boxes and sacks on the wharf and rubbed against her legs. She bent down to scratch him behind the ears, and then looked up at the cook for his verdict. Sir? Very well, then, the cook relented. But only because we're sailing with the tide, and because Tom here has taken a fancy to you, said the cook, nodding toward the cat. So her plan worked. She is now going to get a job on the ship as a cook. And the other cook is telling her, look, that's fine. You can come with us. But part of the reason is only because the cat here took a fancy to you. That means the cat seems to like you. So, here are going to be the 2 cooks for the voyage, and it looks like she is going to get what she wishes for. A spot on this boat. Now we're going to go to page 14. So here's Sarah in her new outfit and the cook. "Thank you, sir." Sarah beamed. "Now come hither. What did you say your name was?" Sam, Sarah thought quickly. "Well, Sam, let's give word to the mate, but you'd better not play the fool. Captain Booth's not one for fools." The cook gestured to the quarterdeck. So, he says, "Well, what's your name?" Obviously, she can't use her real name, right? She's in disguise. So, something close that pops into her head. She said, "I'll just call myself Sam. My name's Sam, the cook." Right? And he says, "Okay, well, that's fine, but let's go tell Captain Booth that you're going to be joining us." And he says, "Be careful. Don't act like a fool on this boat because our captain does not have time for fools." Now we're going to go to page 15. Top paragraph. Sarah caught sight of the captain surveying the ship, a blue doublet done up against the wind, a sword by his side, his arms folded behind his back. She tried hard not to smile, but sure enough, it was her father conducting his final checks before they sailed to India. So, she's trying not to smile like, "Hey, I got on. I hope he doesn't recognize me." Right? And there is our page break. So now that tells you that we're moving to another scene. First paragraph. Sarah was happy to know that the same waves that passed below her feet also passed beneath her father's feet, and that they felt the same wind, that they faced the same peril. But life for the cook's boy was very different from that of the captain. Their paths rarely crossed, and when they did, Sarah kept her head down. She could not reveal herself on board the ship and weaken her father's authority. So it says they faced the same peril. Peril is kind of like another word for danger. So now she's with her father. Our feet pass over the same ocean. We feel the same wind. We are facing the same dangers, right? Because they're together. She could not reveal herself on board the ship and weaken her father's authority. What does that mean? So her father has authority, right? He is an authority figure on the boat. He's the captain. If it comes out that his daughter snuck on board, what might the captain feel about that? How would that make him look? Does it make him look like he doesn't know what's going on in his ship? I don't know. But she thinks that it could be damaging to her father's authority. Next paragraph. Below decks it was damp and sticky, the stale air heavy with the breath of many men. Sarah shared their stench, their coughs, and their cries in the night. Her clothes became thick with dirt and grease. At least it wasn't hard for her to stay in disguise. None of the seamen washed. In their tiny galley, Sarah and Cook did what they could to provide good sustenance for the men, or to the men. Their rations consisted of salted beef and hardtack, the ship's biscuit, as hard as stone and dripping with cheese, while supplies lasted. So, on this ship, as you might imagine, an old pirate ship made of nothing more than wood and a little bit of steel, there's no showers. So, none of them are washing. As days and days passed, as they would with you, Sarah and the crewmen, they are becoming dirtier and dirtier. But she says, hey, at least that's better for my disguise, right? She will blend in more. All right, and that is where we are going to stop for today. So Sarah makes it on board the ship under the guise of being a cook. So let's review our questions before we sign off for the day. Number 1. Why does Sarah keep her head down and not reveal who she is? Show me the text that leads you to your answer. The second one, the text to self-connection. Imagine you are going on a ship across the ocean. back when the journey might take over a year, what would your biggest fear be? What would you be most excited about? And the last question, the extension. Why do you think the author chose to make Sarah so brave and adventurous instead of sending her safely on board the ship along with her father? Why do you think he did that? As always, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the book. Please feel free to email me or to write me on Seesaw. Post your thoughts in the comment section below this video. Any wondering, something that you noticed, does this remind you of another story? What would you do if you were in Sarah's shoes? Anything like that. And that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys for following along with me. Until next time, bye-bye.